All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into something deeply personal.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at your reflections on faith and spirituality,
Right.
and we're using your writing as a starting point.
Okay.
Specifically, a piece you shared called Day #10 Faith in My Higher Power.
Interesting.
Which and I love that you titled it that way, by the way, because it hints at kind of a larger journey
Yeah. Yeah.
that you've been on, right?
Absolutely.
And you were very upfront in saying that, you're not here to persuade anyone of anything. You're simply sharing your own personal experience and truth.
Yeah, and that in itself, I think, is so powerful,
Right.
Because you're basically defining faith as this active partnership with a higher power, and it's something that you've built outside of the traditional confines of organized religion.
Yeah, and you even use the word trauma
Right.
to describe some of your past experiences with religion.
Mm-hmm.
And that really stood out to me.
It's a really powerful word, and I think it resonates with what we're seeing more and more. I mean, there's a growing movement of people who identify as spiritual,
Right.
but not necessarily religious.
100%. And there's this incredibly raw moment that you describe in your writing. You call it a fork in the road, that last night of drinking.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that a little bit? Like what was it about that experience, that specific moment in time, that made it so pivotal for you?
Well, I think it's almost a universal truth that hitting rock bottom or even just approaching it, right, can be incredibly transformative.
Mhm.
But what I find so fascinating about your story is how you highlight the role of free will in that change.
Oh, interesting.
So yes, you found faith in this higher power,
Right.
but you also really emphasize your own action, your own choice in that process.
Yeah.
It's like this beautiful partnership.
Totally. It's like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you're saying, look, I'm ready to do the work, but I need some music to dance to.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of different ways of seeing things, you've got these really interesting metaphors that you bring up that people close to you use to understand, to get their heads around your view of God.
Right.
A beach ball
Okay.
and a river.
Interesting.
Can you elaborate on those a little bit?
Well, it reminds me a lot of that ancient parable of the blind man and the elephant. Have you heard this one?
I have. Yeah.
Where they each encounter a different part of the elephant.
Yeah, they each feel a different part, and they all think it's something totally different.
Exactly. So they each have this very limited perspective. They're
Yeah.
only feeling one part, but they're all describing the same creature, right? And
right.
and so it sounds like your loved ones, they have their own unique ways of conceptualizing this higher power.
Okay.
These different angles, different perspectives represented by the beach ball,
All right.
the flow of the river.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think it speaks to the importance of perspective when we're trying to wrap our heads around something as vast and frankly, as undefinable as
Wow.
faith.
It's true. It's so true. You've painted such a vivid picture of how you and those around you perceive faith.
Thank you.
But if you had to distill it down, what would you say is the ultimate thing that you're searching for, that you get from this personal faith you've cultivated?
What I find so striking is that in the end, you're not looking for concrete answers.
Mhm.
You're yearning for love, light, and serenity. I mean, that's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Your faith, it's not so much about solving life's problems
Right.
as it is about finding a source of strength
Yeah.
and solace
Yeah.
within.
It's just about how it makes you feel.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's really lovely. And it brings us full circle back to your initial point, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is your faith.
It is.
This is your own unique, path
And-
to something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder, does exploring these different faiths, these different spiritualities, even without adopting them as our own, does that actually help us to better understand our own beliefs?
That's a great question.
Right.
It's something to think about for sure.
Definitely food for thought.